Blackwind Nintendo Switch review. And go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button to be kept up with all my latest content.
Step up and kill me, if you can.
And so, as top-down sci-fi shooters go, Blackwind has a lot to offer, and even co-op options. So, as the son of a scientist inventor of an experimental suit of armor equipped with an AI buddy during an alien invasion on which their ship is being attacked, you, his son, gets catapulted down to the nearest planet in said suit. And therefore it is up to you and your, AI buddy to basically find a way to contact your father and, ultimately get off this planet. And to do this, you have an impressive array of useful tricks up your metal sleeve. And as well as jumping, dashing, missiles, you can also choose to use range fighting or even melee, which is cool, but I have to say I spent most of my time using the melee. But then saying that later on in some of the levels, it's advantageous to kind of use both almost at the same time. It's got quite a unique way about it, almost forcing at times for you to use ranged as well as melee in order to, take down the health of the bad guys just before they get to, finish them off with the old slashy. Come get some. During your time here, you'll be also collecting orbs for health and power-ups and things like that. And it's even got an upgrade tree, which is a little more diverse than I actually first thought it was. And what also surprised me, there's also the ability to change your armor. You find different almost designs and things like that to your armor and color schemes, and then you can change them at certain points during the game. Whilst battling the aliens, you even get finishing moves, which are really cool, and I've well appreciated them being there. The only drawback is there's just one finishing move per actual creature, so once you've seen one 20 times, you've seen it all the way through the game, which is unfortunate, but I do actually like it still, and kind of felt like it was one of those touches that they didn't really have to put in, but yeah, I'm glad they did. During your playthrough, you'll have to find places to open doors in other places, like levers and the like. And while this starts simple, find this lever here, it opens a door over there, it later on kind of opens up almost like a puzzle element to the game. And kind of has switch this switch, that'll move this, then you will be able to get to this, then you'll have to switch that one over there, which then you'll have to jump up here, move over there, and so on until you either get up a platform that wasn't accessible before, or to a door that you couldn't get to before, or indeed just to open a door. I found this really did add an extra depth to the game, which was well appreciated and kind of broke up the constant firing and fighting through the actual gameplay. Luckily, there's also a map that you can use to find your way around, and this especially comes in handy when you're actually trying to find those doors to the levers and the levers to the doors. A lot of the environments can be destroyed, and if you're like me, you will, have fun trying to destroy and find what can and can't be destroyed. And I have to admit, it kind of surprised me on, how good some of these effects actually looked. Another thing I enjoyed was the camera and how it flows and pans to points of interest from time to time, like new enemies and the like. I also found the game flowed for me quite well, with some nice banter between the son and the AI, and at times was even funny. Before I go on, I think it's time to actually point out a few negatives. Firstly, I felt that some of the loading screens were a little bit long, and the game after a while did start to feel a little bit samey as you progress through it. I did get stuck in the scenery a couple of times, and I had to revert back to an actual save position because no matter what I could do or what I did, I couldn't get myself out of that position. And yes, I tried the old firing everything and wiggling the controls around. Just didn't work. In some places in the game, the camera really doesn't do you any favours, panning kind of like in cramped positions outside and the like, where you're trying to move and see certain things and it pans over something and you just can't see what you're doing, and then it kind of like unwillingly moves to where you want to go and kind of freaks out whilst doing it sometimes. Also, sometimes when there's a lot going on the screen, it's kind of confusing about what's going on, where your characters and all that, like you kind of like lose yourself in it and subsequently end up dying because of this. The sound I felt was done quite well. It was all voice, which was definitely brilliant and really enjoyed it. Definitely heightened the banter between the son and the AI, and as I said before, there were some funny moments that made you chuckle, or at least made me chuckle anyway. And this extended right down to the fighting and those little special moves that I mentioned. Well, yeah, I don't know, rip some wing off some creature and, you know, call it a name or something, or come out with some sarcastic remark. Although again, this kind of suffers from the it gets samey quite quickly because, well, basically it's the same ones over and over again. But I'm glad they put them in there though. The other sounds I found was adequate. There was some nice squelching when you're going through like alien guts, I guess, and yeah, it was much appreciated, these little details that they had in there. Talking about details, as I said before, I did like the destroyable environments and finishing moves. They felt like a nice touch. The environments did feel okay, with some, well, feeling a little samey, especially after you've been to the same sort of place, but obviously slightly different designs again and again. And there was definitely standout moments and some places that felt a little bit more cooler than others. And definitely some bits where it stood out a little bit more, but only because you can jump onto different platforms and then up to some like beams and pipes and then run across them, running across the wall whilst holding onto the pipe. Once again, giving a use to your jump and double jump, and also splitting up the gameplay in order to make it not feel so samey and stale as you progress. The good. There's a lot here that they probably didn't need to add, like the destroyable environments and the finishing moves, but they did, and it's all the better for it. Extra unlockables as you progress. It's voiced, which is definitely great, and an upgrade system, which is, well, also great. And you even get extra combat moves added as you play through. The bad. Load screens a little bit too long for my liking. Can start to feel a bit samey the further in you go. While I definitely enjoyed the controls and the amount that you can do, it did get a little bit fiddly, you know, from the start, and took a little bit to get used to everything all at once. And now onto that all important score. With so much to see and do, there is a lot of enjoyment to be had here. And for me personally, I really did enjoy it, and that's why I'm going to give it a 4, and a very firm 4 out of 5. As I have, yes indeedy, had fun in this game and loved all the little extras that they put in there. And you can definitely see the devs put their time into Blackwind, and it really does show. And so if you have any thoughts on Blackwind, then let us know down in the comments. Always welcome, and I do try to answer them all. And as for my alternative, well, I'm definitely going to be going for Hong Kong Massacre. I did like this game. It's another top-down kind of shootery one. Not quite as sci-fi-ish as Blackwind, but it's still enjoyable, and it still has some extra nice touches that, you know, I appreciated the devs putting in there. And once again, if you have a better alternative, please do leave it down in the comments so we can all appreciate your choice as well as mine. And with that, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already, to be kept up to date with more of my content, which would also be great. And why not come and join us in our community Discord, because we're all like-minded people there that, well, just like to discuss our favourite things, like the Nintendo Switch, because life is better When we switch together,